Okay, so before we get into building the material, we want to set up our environment. So the first step to doing that in this case is to install the HDRI file that we downloaded in the beginning. So to do that, on the right side of the screen in the Properties panel, go to the World tab, which is this globe in the middle. It's called World Properties, and you're going to go over here to Color. It's a yellow dot. Click the yellow dot and choose Environment Texture. And then you're going to click on the Open button, which has the folder, so you can browse for that HDRI file that you downloaded. Mine is called Country Club 4K. It's an EXR file. Select that and click Open Image. Now, we don't see anything yet because we're still in solid mode. Yes, we're in solid mode. So to be able to see what this HDRI looks like in Blender Scene, you want to go at the top right of your screen to Viewport Shading. Actually, sorry, you want to go to right to the left of this drop down arrow, the last sphere on the right, to Display Render View, and click that. And now you can see what the environment texture looks like and the lighting and the shadowing that it adds to the object. So it's giving this object light and shadows based on the lighting and the shadowing in the HDRI image that we downloaded, if that makes sense. So sometimes this might look great and you might really like the way this looks and think that it's a good option for you. If you don't like the way it looks, you don't have to use the HDRI image. You can just skip this step if you want to. I like to use them most cases. It does take a bit of tweaking sometimes with lamps, but I'll get to that in a second. So now that we have that open, you want to, I want to show you how to move this texture around to rotate it, the HDRI, if you want to lower and increase the intensity of the lighting from it if you want. So let's take a look at how to do that. Over here on the right side, in where the UV editor is, you're going to click that left little arrow, and you can open a new section of your screen if you want to have another panel for the node editor and UV image or UV editor open at the same time. I like to do it this way, just go back and forth. So in the top left icon, I'm going to go down to Shader Editor. This is our node editor. And at the top, there's a little menu here where it says Object. You're going to go down to World, because this is going to give us the nodes that are set up for the HDRI background texture and not for our logs. So as you can see, this orange node, if you're new to nodes, I know they look a little scary. I was afraid of them at first too. Really, they're just little boxes with settings. That's really all that they are. And some of those boxes need to be connected with this little wire in between, or noodle, or whatever you call it, in order for the properties to come together in the right way to give the look that you want and to control each other and stuff. So just think of these as little boxes with wires that you just hook. Working with nodes in cycles is one node is a box with all of these settings inside of it, and then there's a wire or a noodle that connects to another box with settings. Well, the way that I was able to think about this as an analogy is if you're watching TV and you put a DVD into a DVD player and you change some settings on the DVD player, or even on the TV controls on the remote control, and like color and contrast or volume or which channel to switch it to in order to show the DVD, and then the actual display of the DVD itself, the movie on the TV screen, is your final output. And that to me is the equivalent of what you see on your mesh in the viewer, in the 3D viewport in Blender, or in Second Life when you bring your mesh into Second Life and you put the texture on. So it's literally nodes are just like remote controls, or kind of like devices that allow you to change settings and to customize settings so that you get a certain type of display or output in the end, just like watching a DVD. So the orange one is always going to be an image texture node. And so this is the one for the HDRI image that I downloaded. I don't need to change anything in the box. What I am going to do is show you how to add a couple of nodes that will help you reposition and rotate this HDRI image in the background if you want to, because maybe you don't like the direction that the lighting is coming from. You can change that. So with this open, you're going to hit Shift A to add a node, and we're going to go to Vector, Mapping, and now this purple node is going to be a vector node. And so the mapping is just going to help control this HDRI image texture. I'm going to plug in right here where there's a purple dot where it says vector, just plug in the wire to the vector spot there. And then I'm going to go to Shift A, and I'm going to go to Input. I'm going to go to Input, Texture Coordinate. That opens up a red colored node, which is Input, and then I'm going to connect the object to the vector. So connect the object dot here to the vector outlet on this mapping node. And now you can see that our HDRI image is back. We can see everything, and here where it says scale, rotation, location, you can change, like if I change the y-axis rotation, you can see that it changes the HDRI rotation. The image will shift. So you get the hang of that. If you want to, do it on the Z, it'll go around on the Z-axis horizontally. You can play with that if you want. I'm just going to leave it as is because we don't really have time. And then over here on the background, on this node here, there's a strength meter. You can increase or decrease the amount of lighting that comes through from this texture in that setting. So that's up to you as well. I'm just going to leave everything basic right now for sake of time. So now you know how to set up an HDRI texture.